Oh my God. Is it the end for Bitcoin? Should I sell everything? Is it game over? No, no, no. Bitcoin is going to crash. Guys, this is just the sentiment that I'm getting from the market. Everybody, like literally after dumping $2,000, $3,000 for some reason, everybody on the internet has flipped bearish. But that's okay. I mean, look, there are a couple of pretty cautious steps to kind of look out for, and I will address those in today's video. But in the macro, we're still bullish. Like people are forgetting this. So give me a second here. If I just go to the monthly time frame for Bitcoin, people are forgetting that we went from literally $20,000 to $70,000 in a matter of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not going to even count the first one. So in 6 months, Bitcoin went from 20K all the way to $70,000. And people are complaining about a $2,000, $3,000 dump. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not in crypto for a while, okay, I kind of get your worry, but still, right? Don't worry. Yes, again, as I said, there are a couple of cautionary things in the short term that we should be looking out for. And today's video is going to primarily focus on this, but we will also look into the macro. Why is Bitcoin super bullish in the macro trend? Now, one of the very bearish things about Bitcoin currently is that for the past 2 days, IBIT has not bought a single, so BlackRock has not purchased a single Bitcoin. This is very, very, very bad. I mean, what if outflows start occurring from BlackRock? I'll tell you this. I mean, if IBIT has outflows, then it will probably impact the markets negatively because it has not happened before. And right now, what has been holding off the grayscale selling pressure, which is still continuing, they are below 300,000 Bitcoin, but they still do have Bitcoin. It's been IBIT. I mean, whenever IBIT accumulated, at least it put, the total net inflows into the positive, or it compensated for some sort of what grayscale was selling off. And now that it's at zero, we can see grayscale selling, but IBIT is not buying. That is an issue. Continuing on, apart from the Bitcoin ETFs, right, that is, somehow dangerous, but I don't think it's a huge enough factor to be solidly depending on a Bitcoin crash. I think we can look at the macro analysis for Bitcoin, which will give us a much, much, much more better interpretation on what's happening in the market. So I'm going to skip the short-term analysis. What I will say is we had the rising wedge. We broke down after a double top. We had the US GDP quarter on quarter, which came out at 1.6%, I believe, or 1.4%, way below expectations for economic growth. And that caused a dump on both Bitcoin and the stock market. What is the issue here? Well, the US GDP is declining and the debt is increasing. So the deficit between GDP to debts, to expenditure, that is increasing, and that is terrible for the United States economy. That's why risk on assets such as Bitcoin had a decrease just a couple of days back, and that took Bitcoin to sub 63K for a short amount of time. We have decreasing volume. It's a sign of a huge move coming up soon. Is this going to be bullish or bearish? Let me tell you this. So we do have a short term. We're trying to form a double bottom, but it will only be valid if Bitcoin crosses the neckline. If we do, then Bitcoin could retest 66.7. But if not, then Bitcoin will likely decline to the next support level of this rising wedge, which will be at 62 or 61.7K. And if that fails, then we would be looking at $60,000 for Bitcoin. How am I getting this? Well, if we look quickly at how a rising wedge works, we can see that a rising wedge has multiple take profit levels. So we have multiple support lines. We're currently at the first one or the second one, and then we can have a few more coming towards the downside, which are the price levels that I mentioned. So that is the short-term analysis for Bitcoin. If we go into a bit more of macro TA, then we can see that Bitcoin is trying to hold this crucial support line that has been created since 2015 August. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that a couple of months ago, when Bitcoin was at like 40K, I said that if Bitcoin breaks this resistance towards the upside, then Bitcoin will most likely hit new all-time highs. And that's exactly what we've done. So retesting this is important. It's important because it will determine whether if Bitcoin will continue bounce and continue higher, or if it will break below and then potentially correct to lower levels. Now, 59K beautifully lines up with multiple different levels. I think 59K can be comparable to $31,000 if you remember. So this was 31K. This was the importance of $31,000. We had so many tests to this level, And then eventually Bitcoin broke it and we catapulted to the astronomical levels that we've experienced over the past few months. But I think 59K is similar because we have the 2021 first half retesting, finding support, finding resistance. We have the second half finding support, then resistance. And for the past few weeks, we've been finding support. So if this is broken, then I think the 30 period moving average can be hit. It also coincides with another thing, and that is the weekly time frame parabolic SAR support, which would be super good to kind of find support on. We're about to see a bearish crossover here between the 3 and 10 moving averages on the weekly time frame, which is not as significant as the 4-day for Consensio because these two moving averages are a part of that trading system. We are in a bearish crossover for Consensio. Until that flips bullish, I'm not going to be 100% bullish on the markets. But if we cross bullish, then we scrap the bearish scenario and we will be back into full 100% bull mode. Another point of analysis that we can draw is the 30 period moving average. So we can see that leading into this parabola, which we have here, Bitcoin has tested the 30 period moving average a few times, found support, and then continued rallying. So another theory could be if 59K is broken towards the downside, where are we going to find support next? I've been saying 56 to 57K. This still stands. And let me give you a backing of why I think it's going to be 56K. One of the reasons is because there we have the 30 period moving average support. Now, speaking about the parabola for Bitcoin, let me just teach you quickly how a parabola works. Then we can get into the analysis of that. We can see here that in textbook definition for charting terms, we have 4 different bases for a parabola. We have base 1, base 2, base 3. Between base 3 and base 4, you tend to see like an almost 100% increase in price in a very short amount of time. And then you have base 4, and after base 4, you have the final leg towards the upside. If we compare this, so take a photographic memory of this into your head, or you can just go back 10 seconds and then go forward 10 seconds if you're on YouTube, obviously. You can see that it's exactly the same, right? It's exactly the same chart. We had base 1 right over here, followed by base 2. Then we had base 3. Between base 3 and base 4 was a huge move towards the upside. And now we're trying to find base 4. So whether if base 4 will be found at 56, 59, or 60K, time will tell. But regardless, the reason why I'm super bullish in the macro is because if this parabola continues to play out by theory, then we would have one more leg towards the upside. And this one more leg would take us to the $90,000 levels right there. So if you are scared of the market, if you are worried, then I would just keep this in mind that the parabola could still play and take us to the $90,000 territories. And that's pretty much my full long-term analysis on Bitcoin. We can have a look at the S&P 500. We're rebounding on the S&P, which is why Bitcoin is trying to also experience a rebound towards the upside. The Dixie, which is the value of the dollar, we had a bearish crossover on the MACD. Whenever we did see a bearish crossover on the MACD, value of the dollar tend to decrease significantly towards the downside. So this was a daily bearish crossover. We had another daily bearish crossover that also led to the dollar falling in value. And now we're experiencing it once again. You can argue that we've seen bearish crossovers fake prior in the Dixie's history, and you would be correct to give that argument. But I will say this, the confirmation for me will take place once the Dixie falls below this support level. If we see a failure of this support, then we can expect the dollar to fall in value, which will also cause, inversely, the value of Bitcoin to increase in value. And at that point in time, I would be looking out for 66.7K on Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our technical analysis. Now we can move on to the breaking news. But before I do so, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor. They were also the sponsor of 2 videos, or actually not the last one, the video before, and that is Xverse, ladies and gentlemen. They just launched on Bybit yesterday, and or the day before, correct me if I'm wrong. They have increased by 118% since, or 116% since, with a all-time high of, wow, 522%. So massive congrats to them. It's been a successful launch so far. I'm super bullish on gaming projects, and this one looks to be particularly interesting if they actually develop the game as they say. It's currently in alpha stage mode. I've signed up. I can't wait to try it out because they have been developed by developers of Call of Duty and Apex Legends. So if this game turns out to be a AAA game that everybody enjoys playing, then I think this project could do potentially very, very well, but always do your own due diligence. I'm investing into GameFi projects, and I've invested into this game in particular as well. So I will leave a link to their Twitter down below if you want to check them out. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. But the breaking news is that, well, first of all, we have a huge tax increase incoming for the United States. That is not a good thing for the markets, ladies and gentlemen. People already do not have money to invest, or people don't have money in general. We can see that the difference between this cycle and the past one, I've been saying, okay, people had a lot more money in 2021 to put into different investments. And the actual proof for this is in the monetary base. So what the monetary base metric looks at is the total money circulation within the people, within the population. And in November 2021, this metric was at an all-time high, because we were just coming out of COVID. We just printed all the stimulus checks. We printed all of the new money that people got in their hands. So that has dipped. We're trying to slightly increase back up, and hence the price of Bitcoin is also increasing. But this is an institutional FOMO. It's not a retail FOMO yet. Once the monetary base reaches two levels seen in 2021, I think then is when retail will enter back into the markets. If interest rates starts falling, that's also when retail will likely enter the markets, because currently nobody's spending money. People do not have as much money as they did in 2021, and that's what's holding retail back in the current moment in time. But finally speaking, the Fed is going to be speaking. They're going to be announcing the interest rates within 4 days and 22 hours. We know historically that this has caused so much volatility for Bitcoin. Whenever Fed chair goes on stage and speaks, it does kind of create a lot of volatility. This I will be streaming probably with Mr. M, so stay tuned on the channel. It will cause a lot of volatility, probably way more than what we've been seeing over the past few days at least. So stay tuned for this. They will keep interest rates the same. Interest rates will be higher for longer. But the thing is, if during the conference he mentions anything that's interesting, it could affect the market. So this is one that you do not want to miss. I would turn on the notification bell. So as soon as this event happens, you'll have live commentary, live price action, and of course, we will watch the Fed conference live together as well. But guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's update. I will see you all very soon. Happy weekend, everyone. Don't expect too much of a price move to be coming in the weekend. Probably going into Monday is when the markets will start being volatile again. But in the short term, of course, we have to look out for 66.7 in the upside. And in the lower bound areas, we have 61.7 and $60,000. So thank you so much. Take care and have a beautiful weekend.